Hello, YouTube. Now, I have just read Batgirl Endgame #1. Never understood why they bothered putting a #1 on one-shots, but anyway, that's irrelevant. And all in all, it's a rather good issue, I think. Firstly, I'm going to start about the cover. The cover, as you can see, is very vivid, very bright. The blood on Barbara Gordon's face kind of implies that the issue is going to be much darker than it actually is. But she's in centre stage, and the bridge is behind her, and that's all there is to say about it, really. I think it's a good cover, not because I can think of anything that's technically good about it, but simply because it's very eye-catching, it's very bright and vivid, when everything else in this Endgame saga has been very dark and very repressed in terms of its colour palette. But this isn't. It's very light, it's very white, and very bright, so I like the cover. When we get off the cover, you see the issue does get sort of darker, and it's taking place at a point in time where 97% of Gotham City is now infected by the Joker's Endgame virus, and the whole thing is focusing on Barbara Gordon trying to protect Burnside Bridge. Trying to protect the citizens that are trying to get out of the city through Burnside Bridge. And the entire place is overrun with Joker zombies. But one thing that really stands out in this issue is there is not one line of dialogue in the entire thing. Actually, I think there might be one. Let me just have a... Sorry, there's all these adverts for Convergence throughout the whole thing here. It's really annoying. Yeah, the only line in this entire book is "few," and it's right on the very last panel. Aside from that, there's really very little. And it's not a dark book. It's set in a very dark setting, but the art style is really rather cartoonish. You can see she's drawn in this fantastic way, where they're like showing all of her emotions in this sort of with mouth movements. I particularly like this one expression in it at one point when she notices that there's a bomb on the bridge, and it's just this. That expression alone makes this brilliant. It's hard to explain, really. It's a very childish art style, but it works inexplicably in a dark story with a childish art style. It works. It's not something I thought would work, but it stops it from being too dark, and she kind of seems rather sort of sassy in this place, and I love this one scene where she's trying to tell this girl who's trapped on the minibus how to get off and how to get away. And basically, yeah, this whole thing is her protecting people, and the second half of this book is her rescuing this girl before the bridge blows up, because there was the bomb that she noticed earlier. And just look at this. She's telling this girl how to pretend to be a zombie, and she's pulling these faces. And it's just brilliantly drawn. It's so childish, but it's so superb. It's hard to explain how something this simple in terms of a story, and it's just really enjoyable. It's got dark moments, but they're fleeting, and they're counterbalanced by a really good art style, and there are some very sort of emotional scenes, and they manage to work this emotion without any dialogue at all, and it's absolutely amazing. This artist, I say, I'm not familiar with the actual Batgirl series, so I'm not sure which of these is the artist. Well, which of these are the artists, and which of these is the writer, or it might be a mix of writers. But irrespective, the artist on this I really admire. It's making me want to actually consider starting reading the Batgirl series. I probably will, actually. But yeah, it's a really, really good. It's well drawn. It's well written, even though there's no writing in it. And there's one more thing. One thing I'm not sure if I like or don't like. There are some clips of the Joker's face on screens in Gotham City, while everyone in the city is laughing. And Doesn't that look a lot like Jared Leto, or is it Leto, as the Joker in the sort of teasers we've seen of him sort of taking pictures of his new hair, and it kind of looks like his face. So I think the artist here has really sort of been inspired by what the Joker will look like in a couple of years' time on film. Or is it next year? It's one of the two. But that's something which I kind of like. I'm not sure. Personally, I prefer it when they go for sort of older, when they sort of base the design on a previous design so that there's a continuity of the character. But it does look a lot like Jared Leto. And the only thing I don't like about this book, oddly enough, is actually relating to that one panel I just said I do like, which is that the Joker's face no longer has all of that scarring that we saw on it in the previous Endgame issue, Batman 39, which he got whilst he was swimming into the Batcave, presumably from some sort of acid that was used as a defense mechanism by Bruce to prevent him from doing that, but he survived because of the Dionysium in his blood. But I'm not sure if they're going by the idea that the Dionysium healed his face, because the fact that she's out protecting this bridge, and the fact that she's got all this sort of, I think she has some sort of cure or something, which is why she was wearing the gas mask, and basing it, I'm not entirely certain, but I think they're heavily implying that this takes place after Batman 39, between that and Batman 40, but but so then where did the scarring go? I'm not sure if they're implying that it healed because this Dionysium gives him an accelerated healing factor, or if it's actually a plot hole. That irrespective of that minor nitpick, I highly recommend this issue. It's bizarre because it's a very simple story and there's not much really to go on in terms of dialogue. It's got an X factor. It's been done. It's been drawn so well. The artwork is so superb, and it's been planned out the way each thing's going to happen. The story, simple though it is very well written, or very well sort of conceptualized, since there's no lines. It's a very good issue. Unfortunately, it doesn't really contribute anything to the mainstream Endgame arc, aside from preventing the Joker virus from getting out of Gotham by blowing the bridge up. But it's a very good issue, and it's a tie-in that I would highly, highly recommend to everyone who's been reading the Endgame arc. That's all. I shall review the next tie-in to Endgame when it comes out. I'm not entirely certain if that's Arkham Manor or Gotham Academy. I really hope that Arkham Manor is going to finally reveal what happened to Dr. Marvin Zahir at the end of Batman 39. If it doesn't, I'll be moderately disappointed. So, that's that. Highly recommend, and thank you. You can see a subscribe button. It's either there or there, depending on whether or not my screen decided to flip, because sometimes it does that. So, thank you. Feel free to, like and subscribe. Cheerio!